Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight to a night of solidarity with Yemen. My name is Daud Shad, and I'm the co-founder of Students for Yemen at Yale. I'd like to acknowledge our team who helped put this event together before we begin. So if you could all please stand up and be acknowledged from the team. Great, thank you. Our group started last December to raise awareness about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen and to promote peace in U.S. foreign policy. Our actions have included phone banking for the War Powers Resolution in Congress to end U.S. military involvement in the war in Yemen, which just passed the House and Senate separately, but unfortunately it's still awaiting a joint vote. The UN has declared Yemen to be the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. In the past 3 years alone, over 85,000 children starved to death, according to Save the Children. American tax dollars have provided the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen with bombs and intelligence support, while the US government continues to condone atrocities for political gain. The war and resulting destruction is neglected by mainstream media, and most citizens are unaware of the situation. I didn't know much about it until last summer, but on August 9th, a Lockheed Martin-made bomb blew up a school bus, killing 44 children. The images that circulated right afterwards included bloody UNICEF backpacks. I think people would be happier today if our taxes went toward public education instead of arming coalitions that bomb school buses, funerals, and weddings in the poorest country in the Middle East. I'd like to thank you all again for coming out tonight. And during this event, we'll be collecting donations for Doctors Without Borders Yemen Relief Emergency Fund. To donate, please go to tinyurl.com/foryemen. This will be up on the screen the whole night. Please help us reach our goal of $25,000. And we also have envelopes for cash or check donations as well. So again, thank you so much, and I'd like to introduce the co-founder, Mehdi.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out on a Saturday night in solidarity for the people of Yemen. As many of you know, and as Daud mentioned, millions of Yemenis are suffering and facing a terrible, terrible suffering right now. When Daud and I got together last semester, our vision was to start a campaign of students across the country advocating for peace, using Yemen as our rallying cause. Back then, the bombing in Yemen had been going on for 3 years. The death toll was rising, disease was rising, internal displacement, child mortality, and US funding. But we were disappointed in the lack of student organization and outcry on this issue. So as Daud mentioned, we started Students for Yemen here at Yale. And by now we've spread to campuses across the country and created a coalition of organizations around this cause. Now we're looking to start our first truly national action, the National Fast for Yemen. On April 1st, we are asking students, activists, and individuals across the country to fast or abstain from food and water from sunrise to sunset in solidarity with the people of Yemen. At the end of the day, we'll ask everyone to donate the monetary equivalent of their fast opening meal to one of our Yemen-specific fundraisers. We want this to be a truly national movement. And already we have hundreds that have committed to fasting in solidarity with Yemen on April 11th, from the east to the west coast, and even in Canada and England. So I want to end by asking all of you to please pledge to fast for Yemen. Go on our website, fastforyemen.org/pledge, and sign in with your name and your zip code so that we can add, we have a national tracker showing where everybody is fasting so that we can see how many people are with us in this movement. And please personally spread the message to as many friends, families, and fellow activists as you can. Let's make this a national fast. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, once again thank you for coming. Just to give you all a brief overview of our program for the night, we'll begin the evening by hearing from our first speaker, Dr. Shireen Al-Adaimi, who is a prominent Yemeni American activist. We will then have a musical performance from an oud player, Mehdi Baqri, after which we will collect donations for Doctors Without Borders, who, as you will see in the video, will show, are actively providing medical relief on the ground in Yemen right now. Finally, we'll hear from our special guest, Dr. Cornell West, and then close out with a prayer from the victims of war led by Dr. West and Yale Muslim chaplain, Imam Omar Bajwa. And on behalf of Students for Yemen and all of our sponsors, thank you all for coming and supporting this urgent work with your donations and your presence. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors here at Yale, so that includes the Macmillan Center for Middle East Studies, the Center for Race, Indigeneity, and Transnational Migration, the African American Cultural House, the Yale Chaplain's Office, and Dwight Hall at Yale. Thank you.
So next up, we are going to see a video that has been sponsored by Medicine Sans Frontières, and this video exposes the harsh reality of the crisis in Yemen. Because of the nature of the suffering depicted in the video, some of the images, some of the violence, might be a little bit too graphic for some viewers, so please feel free to close your eyes or step out if this would affect you. This video is going to depict some of the background information on Yemen's crisis situation, but it's also going to tell you some of the stories of the families that are suffering. I want you to listen to these stories as closely as you can, because entirely too often, when we hear about Yemen, we see numbers. We see Yemen as a number of lives lost, as the number of homes destroyed, but unfortunately, this is not really a crisis of numbers. This is a crisis of real lives lost, of real people actually suffering and having to deal with those consequences. Remember that these aren't just numbers, they are human lives filled with connections such as brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, teachers, and all of these connections were ripped apart just because of war. Hear the stories of their lives, focus on what they had to face, and remember that this is a human crisis measured not in numbers, but in devastation and in emotion. Remember that many of the people around you currently have connections to people who are living in Yemen right now. This suffering is nowhere near as far away from you as you think it might be. We cannot become desensitized to the deep pain that is felt by each of these lives. These lives cannot be represented by mere numbers. So please, if you could take a glance at the video above.